Good morning everyone, it is 9:15 a.m. here in the UK, Manchester, and I have just completed chapter 10. I've enjoyed this chapter, it's been quite eye-opening. We've had a little bit more about the law of some things. So we've had the poem at the beginning, which I went through in the last video, and it's referring to Mother Dark's children, being the first, which was the Tistandi, who she found as her dearest, and they were the dwellers of the land before light. Then she had the second, which was the Tis Lians, and they were what she called the light itself. But after the birth of those, the first, the Tistandi, denied their mother, which then had them cast out. And then she had the third, which was the Tistador, the shadow upon their souls. So within this chapter, we learn a little bit more about the Tistador. So we start off, as I said last vlog, with Gruntle and how he seems to be drowning his sorrows in regards to Hallow dying, giving his life for them. It's obviously grief, some guilt in the fact that it was Hallow that died and not Gruntle. But we find out later in the chapter how it came about that Gruntle and Stoney and a couple of others managed to survive, which I did pick up on that and had a suspicion that somebody was helping. So we'll go into that as well. So at this moment in time, Buke is concerned about Brooch. We have learned earlier that Brooch is potentially this serial killer. Not only is he a necromancer, but he's also a serial killer. And wherever Brooch and Beauchelain lay their hats, so to speak, for that period of time of living, bodies seem to appear. And it's happening again in Capistan. Bodies are appearing, and Buke obviously has his thoughts in regards to Brooch. So Buke is seeking Gruntle's help in following Brooch to find out just exactly what he's up to. But Buke also seems to have this little plan, this little scheme of not forcing the hand of Brooch and Beauchelain to anger them towards them or anger them towards the Capistan Daru people. He would rather the Panion anger the sorcerers, and therefore then they can expel their wrath of sorcery onto the Panion. So Buke is basically hoping that these two sorcerers will align their magic, their sorcery, to aid Capistan in the fight against the Panion. Then we go to finding out who's outside the walls of Capistan, and it is Septarch Culpath. He's the commander, and he has what seems like around 80,000 strong outside of the walls of Capistan, and by day they are growing because they keep bringing in the Tenescauri, the villagers, the peasants, the peasant army of the Panion Domain, and these are the people who are basically cannibals, as well as housing the woman of dead seed, or women of dead seed, with their feral children who they bear because of this dead seed. So that's kind of the army outside. We've also got like Becklites, we've got who are an infantry. We also have the Erdemen, who too are an infantry, and then we have Betrulid Wings and Desande and Scalander. So there's quite a few different forces outside of Capistan tied to the Panion Domain who are going to attack. So they seem to be quite outnumbered at the moment, which is a bit of a shame because it seems like the attack is imminent. So when we go from there, we go to Hetan, and she's going to have a meeting along with her brother Calaf, with Bruchalion, Canadas, Ictovian, and the masked priests, and they're going to have a big meeting to discuss how they're going to move forward. But Hetan has a request of her own that she wants to make. And I actually do quite like this character, Hetan. I find her quite funny because she wants to bed every man who she comes across. And she's very sort of dominant female character. She wants to, if she spots a man who she wants, she is going to get him. And it's as simple as that. And I like the way that Stephen Erickson's wrote her, is that it's kind of, these men don't have a choice in the matter. They're going to sleep with her and that's the end of it. And I find that quite amusing. I find it quite funny. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. I find it quite funny. So she's got her sights set on Ichtkovian. Sorry, I'll get that right. Ichtkovian. She's got her sights set on Ichtkovian. The problem with Ichtkovian is that he is sort of has this vow of celibacy, but she reckons that she's going to break it, so we'll see. So we've got 14 priests of this masked council, and each priest has a mask of one of the gods, such as Rast Trake, who is wearing the mask of the Tiger of Summer. We've got Wrath Decembre, or Decembre, however you say that. Wrath Direct, Wrath Hood, Wrath Shadow Throne. So, you know, we see they seem to be named after the gods, like Shadow Thrones, etc. But so they go into this meeting, and Hetan quite literally means business. Now, she's talking about her ancestors, not far away ancestors right now, but her ancestors before her, who have approached this mass council and asked for rights to some element of this land. And they've been denied every single time. The mass council has just basically said no, every time. And they have a similar opinion this time, but she is not prepared to back down. And her brother Calaf is chanting behind her, summoning their ancestry spirits to come and showcase that they mean business. So there's a couple, Wrath Queen being one of them, who knows exactly what is Hetan wants, where it is. So she speaks up, and then Wrath Shadow Throne tells her to sort of, come on, you may as well tell them at this point, because basically the Panion are going to come in, we're going to be ruined, we're going to be wiped out, so you may as well just tell them. So we eventually find out that it is the bones of her ancestors, the spirits that are with them now. They've been hidden within Kapistan for a very long time, and each sort of line of heritage from the ancestors have been wanting these bones back. And the reason that they want the bones back is that the bones can unite the Baghurst clans. At the moment, they're all kind of separate and won't work together, sort of thing. If they have the bones, then everybody's faith will be reunited, and they can bring the clans back together and fight as one. So this needs to be done. So this is why Hetan wants these bones back. So Wrath Queen says that she knows where they are, and they are literally under the floor of this sort of council chamber room that they're in right now. So this floor is being dug up as they're speaking. And once we get under the floor, what we find is canoes. There are around 9 canoes under the floor with 60 plus bodies in there. 60 plus bodies in these canoes. And these are practically all. And because they didn't look exactly like the Baghurst as they do now, they just predetermined that they were maybe a different clan, or of a different sort of make or personage. I don't know how to say it, but they weren't Baghurst, they were something else. And what they're forgetting is that, you know, over time there's been mixed relationships with other clans. So how a Baghurst looks now may not have been how a Baghurst looked then. So because they've potentially got more human-like qualities now, the Baghurst, whereas back then they wouldn't have. They'd have looked different. Similar to us, you know, we wouldn't have looked like this, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago, but through time and interracial sort of relationships, we change. Our appearances change. So Stephen Erickson has entered that same element in here, is that over time, through, you know, interwoven relationships, obviously they're going to change. So the feeling from Hetan and Calaf, they can feel that these are their people. But we have the conundrum of the Panion are outside the walls. How on earth are you going to remove these bones of your ancestors and show to the others that you have them when there is imminent war outside the walls? So we're not quite sure just yet how that's going to be achieved. But for now, Hetan and Calaf are just going to leave them there. They seem to have some sort of plan. And Brookhalion is aware of this and wants them to be kind of watched. And due to their god, he wants Ictovian kind of to do what he's not meant to do. He's took this vow of celibacy, and Brookhalion is saying, well, for knowledge and for information to be able to give to our Tusked One, you're going to have to do it. So basically, it looks like Ictovian is going to have to kneel to Hetan's wants as a woman and go against his vow. So that seems to be what's happening there. But we've learned a little bit about the people in the canoes as to who they were fighting potentially at the time. And it seems that the ancient ones that are under the floor were in the midst of a fight with the Tiisten in my head it's a lot easier than actually verbalising. Tiisten who actually, when you take away the ancient language and put it into, or take away the present day language, and take it to ancient language, they would have been the Teist Ejur, which is the third born of Mother Dark. So that's who, because there's markings on these boats depicting a story. So those would have been who the Barghast then were actually fighting against. So we've had that tie there from the beginning poem, lyric, verse, whatever that is, the beginning verse of chapter 10, to explain later on in this chapter that the Teist Ejur were the ones who the Baghurst were fighting, and they were from the Forest of Shadows. Basically the Baghurst back in time pushed them back out through the sea and pushed them back to the underworld where they belong, which is the Forest of Shadows. So that was that whole fight there, that whole war there. But then that's the end of kind of chapter 10. What we do find out, and I had the suspicion of where we come to Corella, is when they came across the Kachane Chamel, the demons, Corelli was stood there and he was praying, and it wasn't certain as to whether or not he'd had any effect, but as it turns out, he did. So he's praying, and my question is, who's Corelli's god? He prays to an elder god, but who is it? I have a thought, but I'm not entirely sure that I'm right. When you are reading this particular chapter, it explains that what he did when he prayed to the elder god, it seems like he was enabled to send their souls to his elder god's warren, where they had protection from wolves. Now, so far, unless I'm very much mistaken, Shadow Throne, or the House of Shadows, is the only place where I know that there are wolves involved. So, is Corelli's god Cavendish? Is that who Corelli's god is Cavendish? So he's praying to Cavendish, and Cavendish has saved them because he's of the Shadow House of Shadows, and that's all to do with the House of Shadows wolves. Is that correct? That's the tie I'm making. So if I'm wrong there, let me know. But that's the connection that I've made there. So Corelli's god is Cavendish, who, as we know, was the previous emperor of the Malaz City before Empress Lysine did the dirty on him and took his place. So, because she didn't think that he was doing his job well enough. Am I right or am I wrong? I guess we'll find out. So on to chapter 11, guys. I will catch back up with you all once I have finished chapter 11. what I just realised is I forgot to mention in the last vlog. I'm such an idiot sometimes. In chapter 10, the Wrath Trake, there's some suspicion there. Now, I'm a little bit confused about that, I have to admit. So we know that the Tiger of Summer has died, or is dying, or at least could be dead. We know that much because Kalava was there, stroking the head, talking him through it, saying, you have to realise who you are because you've been lost for so long, and you are going to be needed in the future. You're going to be needed again. But what we've come across here in this conversation is the Wrath Trake seems to look rejuvenated. One of the other Wrath, I can't remember which one now, I think it's in my notes, turns around and says, look at him, he's talking to Ictovian or Canadas, saying, doesn't he look rejuvenated? Yet we all know that the Tiger of Summer was found dead. Now, what I'm not sure, what my confusion with this is, so what are they suggesting? Imposter? Is the person who is now wearing the Wrath Trake mask an imposter? Or are they suggesting that they know that there is going to be a fresh coming of Trake, or Treach as it could otherwise be known? There's going to be a new coming of Treach, and this is why potentially this member of the council, Wrath Trake, looks rejuvenated. I'm a little bit confused on that because we do get this kind of conversation then on top of that saying how it does come across as like there's something untoward, how there potentially may be a spy among us kind of thing. So I'm a little bit confused there. I've read it a couple of times and still I'm a sort of, what are we suggesting? Are we suggesting that there is a spy amongst us? That this is somebody who shouldn't be there? Or potentially that there is only one god of war, which is what also is being said, which potentially could mean Treach. So I'm a little bit confused. I just wanted to say that I'm a little bit confused as far as that goes. But I'm hoping it'll be cleared up. Or maybe you guys can clear that up for me. Yeah, because I'm a little confused in that. I think my initial thought is that we're talking imposter. But I'm not sure. So maybe either the next chapter or wherever I get to will clear that up for me. But yeah, I forgot to mention that, so I'll just pop that on. Okay, next time. I'm not actually done with chapter 11, but I think I had to jump on to give you my truest emotion when reading this book. This has to be the best paragraph I have read yet. It has to be, not even paragraph, section. We know these chapters have sections where we jump back and forth to characters. What I have just read for chapter 11, was mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So we're back and forth with the bridge burners, basically. And go back to my notes. Picker, Blend, Spindler, Hedge, Detour and Mallet, they're all waiting for Quick Ben. They're getting restless. Detour seems to be being followed by some sort of like bull-type creature. And one of the other guys, called Hedge, starts winding her up, so she basically beats him. She gives him a good hiding, breaks his nose, just sort of dislocates his jaw, so he's a bit unconscious. So Mallet's got sunburn, so Mallet's trying to rest, and he knows that his warrens aren't good. He knows that there's problems with his warrens because of the poisoning from the crippled god. So you've got Mallet trying to heal from this sunburn, but Mallet comes over anyway to have a quick look at whether Hedge is alright or not. But in the meantime, like I said, they're all waiting for Quick Ben, and there's a bit of a discussion that happens to find out, are we still potentially working for the Empire? Are we still potentially with Whiskey Jack and Dujek? Are we still somehow embroiled with the Empire? Are we not just doing this? Do we still have ties to the Empire? So that's a good question. And we've gone to Quick Ben, who struggled to get away from Hood's Gate, because obviously the crippled god is poisoning all the Warrens slowly but surely, and he struggled to find his way out because the Panian seer is being influenced by the crippled god, but the crippled god has also opened the floodgates to the gates of chaos. So this is where all this is happening from. So we have this idea that if we get rid of the seer, potentially we can somehow weaken the crippled god. So we've got that going on. Then we're back with Perrin and the Baghurst, and what's about to happen now, which was mentioned in the other chapter, is because Trots is Baghurst and he is a descendant of the first founders, so he's within the bloodline to rule, but he has to make the challenge, he has to affirm his status. So he's gone there to challenge anyone who wants to step up to him, and Hubral Tar is kind of the chief. So he has picked his youngest son, who is unnamed, but he's a very good warrior. Basically, they say like he was born with swords in his hands, he's that good. So that's who he picks for this fight. So the fight kicks off, and it's seeming very level pegging at the moment. Trots is fighting very much in the Malazan way, and the unnamed son is fighting in very much a Baghurst way, with just what seems like a small knife, really. But whilst you've got Trots holding a sword and a shield, and they are going at it tit for tat, and eventually they end up in this situation where they both tag each other. They both get each other. So Trots slices the unnamed stomach open, but in the meantime, the unnamed crushes Trots' throat. So both potentially could die at any minute. But what happens is one of the other bridge burners, Mulch, comes running over, who's the healer, and performs something that somebody taught him that is non-magic. So in circumstances where magic may be gone, may not be a help anymore, teaches him how to do basically what is a tracheotomy. What is literally putting the tube in the throat so you can continue to breathe. And that's what he does using a piece of bone. And he says, well, I've just had it on hand just in case of this circumstance. So Perrin's kind of in awe, saying, well done, quick thinking. But he knows that because of the state of Trots' neck, they need mallet. So what he's done is, in the meantime, he's sent Twist on the Black Manaloth to go and get Mallet. So whilst this is happening, Mallet's actually on his way. It's all go, I'm telling you, it's so good. So Mallet's on his way, and he shows up. But then we go back to Quick Ben and Picker and Blend and them lot, and as they're walking to get to where Perrin is, Quick Ben gets pulled down back into the soil like he did before. So you think, oh my goodness, Burn wants him again. It's not Burn, it's Talamandus. Talamandus is in this long dead warren with some others of the white masks or white faces, and is trying to tell Quick Ben that Humbrol won't hear him, won't listen to him. He keeps sending him away by his shoulder man, keeps sending him off to say, no, we don't want anything to do with the ancient ones. We listen to the new gods, not the ancient ones, and the ancient ones kind of scare them and they don't want anything to do with them. But what he's trying to say is that your daughter's found the bones. Listen to me. You need to know this. This is going to help with the war. Your daughter's found the bones. But he won't hear it. So Talamandus now is panicking and thinks, well, who can I get to help? Quick Ben. So he pulls Quick Ben down and he's explaining this to Quick Ben, but Quick Ben says, well, I need your help. We need Trots because he's the first founder, he's the leader, he's the bloodline from first founders. We need him because we need to align the clans. So not only do we need these bones, so Quick Ben says, I will help with the bone situation if you help me get Trots. And the only way that they can do that is by using their Denol healer, but they have to get Mallet there. So what do? So Mallet's there over Trots and he's healing him and he's got this tracheotomy in his throat and he has a conversation with Perrin, and this is where I'm going to get emotional. Because he says, the only way I can help him is by tapping into my warren, and the warrens are poisoned. So Perrin doesn't want anybody to die. Nobody's dying on this watch. But he has to save Trots. He has to align the clans to get to the war. So he nods in agreement to sacrifice Mallet. So Mallet does that. And as Mallet is tapping into his warren, and it's splitting his skin, and it's poisoning him, and it's literally killing him, all these hands are grabbing at him in his warren, and he can see all the dead bodies, and then more hands start to grab him, different hands. And these are the hands from Talamandus. So before it's too late, he gets pulled into where Talamandus is, and he's engulfed by the Denal healers' warrens. So he takes that in, and as he's taking that in, he's also healing Trots. And thank the Lord, he comes out of it, and he's healed Trots, and he's fine. And this is the truest reaction to this I can give you. That touched me massively. Because to actually sacrifice yourself to save for the greater good massively touched me. So I'm not even finished with chapter 11. But oh my goodness, did that get me on the edge of my seat to where I knew I had to come on and tell you guys that I've just experienced this. This is what Malazan can do to you. It did it to me in Gardens of the Moon. It did it to me in Dead House Gates. And it's doing it to me again in Memories of Ice. Stephen Erickson is a prolific writer. He is prolific. And just to write that one section of that chapter and have you move you like that, because you get so engrossed in these characters and you just want the best for them. That's what it's done to me. So that's where we're at. I'm going to continue, but I just needed to share that with you guys because, oh my word, how amazing. Now everybody's okay. But now we've got to get over the hurdle of, is Humbrol going to accept and acknowledge Trots? He'd better, because that's just causing a whole load of other problems that we don't need. So he'd better acknowledge that. But hey, you can never predict, can you? So I guess we're going to have to wait and see if Humbrol is going to accept Trots. Chapter 11, the best by far. Don't get me wrong, I love the lore. I love chapters like 6, 7, 8, but chapter 11, the best by far. I have just loved it from beginning to end. So action packed, so full of information, findings out, mysteries solved. I have loved it. I'm very excited for chapter 12, but let's recap chapter 11. So, and I have to say, I absolutely love Answer and the way Picker sort of winds him up. It is so funny. His answers when he's saying, yeah, you could be right on that, and then he'll change his mind quickly to the other. Yeah, but that could be right. His name suits him so well. He's slowly, along with Herton, becoming one of my favourite characters. I really, really like Answer. He's so funny. But, so, Trot's fine. Mallet's fine. We've now gone with Quick Ben, Parran, Mallet, Trot, Twist, all gone into Humbrol's tent to have this conversation about the bones that are in Capistan under the floor within the council's housing, and how where what's his name, Talamandus is in the Forgotten Warren with those spirits, those ancient spirits. Talamandus is there because they've now been woken, because they've been sort of exposed, they've been woken, so they're now trying to get to the newer spirits and make a coalition, and it's happened. They've made this coalition, the conversation has happened. I keep forgetting his name. Humbrol has said, okay, and the guys are hoping that when all the other clans wake up, they'll feel that change in the air. They'll feel that the old spirits are there, and it will give them some reassurance that they are strongly backed by their ancient spirits, and now they can go to Capistan and help free the Capan people and fight this stupid Panian whoever's and succeed. You know, I'm 100% a bridge burner. If I was to be in this tale, I would be 100% bridge burner, because Tatasale is a bridge burner. So I'd be 100% bridge burner. So I'm 100% behind these guys. I want them to win. So we've had the conversation. Humbrol is on side. We've just got to get the other clans involved. But Picker and Spindle have a little bit of a conversation. And Picker makes this passing comment to Spindle. So I've got another question. Picker makes this passing comment to Spindle about this hair jacket, that's his mum's hair that he wears. Since his mum's death, he cut all her hair and has made a jacket out of it, which sounds gross, absolutely gross. But I can understand the connection. It's that mum connection again, which is laced throughout this entire book. The theme is motherhood, maternity, that matriarchal feel. And so he's wearing this because he obviously loved and adored his mum, and it's his honour and his representation to his mum. But she says, it's the last night before we know what our future's going to be, Spindle. Go and have some fun. Go and enjoy yourself. Go and find a girl, Go and do things. But I suggest you get rid of the jacket because it's not appealing. And he says, I can't get rid of the jacket. Mum would go mad. And she says, yeah, but your mum's dead. So how's she going to know? And then there is this action that Spindle does where he kind of, as if he's been hit. And he steps up and he goes off chunnering like he's just been told off. And Picker watches this and she makes note of it and she makes a comment of, are the other spirits around us? So here's my question. Are the other spirits around? Has this rousing of the ancient spirits, or what's going on at the moment with this crippled god, is it rousing other spirits to awaken? Are other spirits going to awaken and join in with this war? Is that what's going to happen? Because everybody, with the maternal instinct, everybody needs some sort of motherly love, whether it's direct from your mum or whether it's from a friend or an aunt or a nana, or you need that kind of that maternal sort of love in your life to give you the bravery and strength to face the adversities in front of you. Is that what this is? Are spirits of others going to join in to give those facing this battle the courage that they need, so that they know they're there and it gives them courage? I mean, obviously, that's not the case for Spindle. He's got to be a good boy because Mummy's telling him. But then there was the shocking revelation of what Picker says and how she says, you better not be around here, Dad, because I'll slice your throat again like I did the first time. So Picker killed her dad. What happened there then? Are we going to get into that? Do we find out why Picker had to kill her father? Is that some gruesome stuff, kind of Felicin type story? I'm not sure, but there was also was there a reference in this one? Or was it the previous chapter? There has been a reference to Deadhouse Gates. I will go back and have a look, and if I can find it again, I'll bring it up in a next snippet that I do. But so yeah, that's where we're at. The ancient spirits and the new spirits have made a coalition. They're together, and they are now in this forgotten warren that is no longer forgotten. And seemingly at the moment, because it's a forgotten warren, this is not somewhere that the crippled god knows about. So fortunately at this moment in time, we have this one warren. There may be others, because as we've said, the deck of dragons being based on houses and warrens, there are many, many, many from the past that no longer are in the deck. So we have to find these forgotten warrens. These are the safe places where the mages and the sorcerers can use their powers without fear of the poisoning. So we've obviously got to find these other warrens. We haven't had mention of Quick Ben and where he's at with Byrne in this chapter, but Quick Ben seems to have sort of eased Mallet out of the feeling as if he's not himself, because he was kind of taken over by the Denel healer and taken over by some of the ancients so he could heal Trot. So he's back to himself now. But yeah, I think we need to find these other warrens, these lost, forgotten warrens, and use them to our advantage, because quite frankly, fighting a crippled god without magic, without the mages, that's a task that is going to be a hard one. So yeah, I think that's what the future holds for these guys, is finding forgotten Warrens. And yeah, I'm looking forward to chapter 12. This was brilliant. Chapter 11 was brilliant. I loved it. Just quickly, I've found it, the little snippet I was talking about. So I mentioned about the Teaston so the Teast Adur, the third born of Mother Dark, and how they were the ones that were fighting with the ancient Bacchus, the white faces, the ancient white faces, and they've been found under the ground in the massed council's chamber, under the floor, all in canoes with the markings. The markings are to do with the Teast Adur, the Teaston Or, as they were called. Now they're known as, or that's what they're called now. They were known as the Teast Adur before they started putting hyphens in and what have you, or commas, etc. So the story goes that they are the ones who have the power for some form of necromancer to keep bodies alive but headless. So they take heads, they collect heads, but keep the bodies alive. Remember in Deadhouse Gates, when we go on, we find the ghost ship, the lost ship. I can't remember the characters now. I think it's Fiddler. I'm not too sure. Or it could be that it's Felicin and the two guys that are with her. The names escape me. I'm rubbish with names. But it could be, it's one of those. It's either, you will tell me in the comments, it's either Felicin and her guys, the convict and the priest, or it's Fiddler and his guys. They find this, their ship is sinking, they find this other ship, they board it, and they find all these heads. And then when they go and look into where the ore room is, there's all these bodies who actually still row the boat. So there's a crossover again. Deadhouse Gates, Memories of Ice. So somewhere within that story, the Teast Adur obviously did that to that particular ship. Now, either that was mentioned and I forgot it, which is highly possible, because, as I keep saying, fibro brain, you know, I have to talk things out with someone for me to go, yes, I remember that. If I'm talking to somebody who's read it, then my memory will pick up. But just talking on my own, I don't have the capacity to, you know, snap to it. But that was the bit I was missing, and that was the bit I wanted to mention. So just thought I'd mention that because I find that very interesting. That may have some sort of dwelling on this story somewhere. Who knows? Chapter 12 complete. It is 1:10, so I may be able to get in chapter 13 as well, and that would be a nice run. So we've finished off 10, 11, 12, and then we might do 13, and then we're up to book 3, so I'm kind of aiming for that. But let's go over chapter 12 and my thoughts. So we go back to Tok the Younger, and he has, from the last time we saw him, gone with the Panian Domin, the Teniscauri, and hidden himself among them. So we're joining them now sort of 3 weeks later, and somehow he's managed to become a lieutenant. So he now rides on a horse next to Anasta, which is odd. But Anasta's seen something within him. He's noticed that he's got this one eye, which is like a wolf eye. How they've picked that up, I don't know, but they have. So yeah, he now rides next to Anasta on this horse, but he obviously is refusing to eat what they eat, because quite frankly they eat human flesh, and Tok isn't going that far into the disguise, so to speak. So we're on this journey, and I may well have missed things, I don't know, but we're on this journey, and what we've seen is Tok looking around, paying attention to his surroundings, and then he gets told by some soldiers that approach Anasta and himself that the seer wishes to see Tok, and they call him the Defier, obviously because he's defying to eat the human flesh. So now Tok is going to see the seer, and when he gets in there, what he notices is that the seer is a corpse. It's actually a corpse. It's not even a person as such. It's a dead body being controlled, being animated, being used like a puppet for whoever is the seer, which I think at this point we all believe it's the crippled god. I still have that belief, but there is a small element of me that's not quite sure. But still, we're going with the belief that it's the crippled god. So they're having a conversation, and the crippled god is talking to Tok about his friends. Does he have friends? Surely he's made friends with the tenor scourer. Surely he's made friends with Anasta. You know, surely he's got friends, but Tok is saying he doesn't have friends. And to live this life as a tenor scourer, he can't have friends because the purpose is to eat them. But then the seer calls his bluff and says, yes, but you don't eat it. So Tok has to remain silent. But the whole time that he's been with Anasta on this horse, he's been like a mute, like he doesn't speak. And now at the request of the seer, he's finally spoken again. So they have this conversation about friendship, and the seer is hinting at he knows about Lady Envy, and he knows about the wolf and the dog and the Segule and Tool. But Tok is trying to deny his knowledge of them, so he's trying to deflect himself away from being part of who they are. The seer, then noticing how hungry Tok is, delivers him this platter of food on a table. Magically, using sorcery, makes this food appear. And Tok is at the point where he can no longer resist to eat, so he does eat. And the seer thinks potentially maybe he's pulled one over on him and he's now eating flesh. But what Tok realises is that this wolf that he has become part of, he can also smell. So he's got the senses of a wolf. So as much as he can see, he can also smell. So he can smell that this isn't flesh. He can smell it's venison. He knows already. And as much as the seer's like, ha ha ha, I've made you eat flesh, Tok's like, no, you haven't, because I can smell it. But he says, no, actually, the seer does actually turn around and say, well, it's venison. And seer's like, Tok's like, yeah, I know, because I can smell it. But he doesn't say that. That's his inner monologue. And then it turns quite nasty. And after Tok is noticing this sort of shimmer wave type thing of where he can see through this eye wolf presence that he has within him, this elder god, which I think is Tretch, the tiger of summer. That's who I think it is. And maybe that's been said and I've not quite got it in there, but he is aware of this other presence, and nobody as yet has spotted this other presence. So the seer is a little bit perturbed that Tok can see this. So now he has this awareness that Tok is potentially a threat. So it goes downhill from there. We end up where the seer uses his sorcerer to lift Tok up and kind of start to crush his bones. And the next thing you know, Tok's in complete darkness and is still being held. But he can slowly feel himself being repaired, slowly healed. And whilst this is happening, he feels these arms around him in this new place that he's in, not knowing where he is. And as soon as he shivers, this thing grips hold of him tighter and breaks his bones again. But then he's in this, what the seer's done is put him in this cycle of his bones will be crushed, then they'll be healed, his bones will. So he's going to go through this torturous event with this being, this thing. And the seer is lapping it up. He's saying, you know, I grow tiresome, I grow weary of people, and I send them there to replace me. That's how he puts it, is to replace me. So if this is the crippled god, who's that then? So that's potentially the crippled god's mother. That's the essence and sense that we're getting. I mean, the one thing Tok knows, or what the seer knows about Tok, is that the one within Tok is ready to be for its rebirth. So there was talk when we was with the Tiger of Summer, Treach, there was talk of him needing to come back. He needs to realise who he is so he can come back. He's been hidden in this place so he can come back. But who is this mother type thing? Who is that? That's a burning question now. We've still not forgot about the Witch of Tens. Just putting that out there. We're getting a lot more mention of Memories of Ice. Memories of Ice have been mentioned also in this section. Tok was getting images and Baljug was getting the same images, so they're now sharing images, and the seer's saying that he can be kind, and as Tok is watching the seer with his emanations of magic from separate entities from corpse to seer, he's also getting this smell, and it's the smell of ice on the wind, and it says memories, ancient, whose. So I asked the same question. Who is this? This is obviously something we're going to find out later in the book, but I'm trying to think of who it is now. Who is creating these memories of ice? Who could potentially be the old ancient one of ice, or of the time of ice? Who could that be? Have we met them yet? Or have we come across a character who their timeline crosses with them, or they have an affiliation with them? Do we know of any signs whatsoever as to who this person or entity or ancient could be? I'm not sure that we do, but as Stephen Erickson does, he gives you hints all the way through. So I'm trying to now think, have I read about this? It's also mentioned that within this sort of emanation of sorcery that Tok is seeing between this is the corpse and this is the seer, and the two are sort of separate and nobody else has seen this, mages have apparently come up to speak to the seer and not spotted it. So Tok's the first, the only one to have spotted it. But he's also getting this essence of Jag-Hurt about it. Does that mean it's Gelor? So is it Gelor then, who's now took the throne, who is pretending to be the seer? I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused. Let's say it's Gelor who's pretending to be the seer, because that would make sense in reference to working for the crippled god. So the crippled god, is the crippled god though the one that we have to be sort of scared of, this ultimate power that's coming, this ultimate threat? Is that actually the crippled god, or is that this mother type being that now holds Tok prisoner and is going to basically hug him to death, repeatedly hug him to death over and over again until his mind and everything about him gets lost? Because that's what it's hinting at, that everything's going to go stupid and Tok's going to lose himself because of the effects of what this god's going to do, because that's happened to whoever the seer is. That's the same thing that the seer went through, and they need to be replaced now that they're not there, because they turned sour and the mother no longer wanted them, which also reflects upon Mother Darkness. That's kind of what happened with Mother Darkness. The tea standee turned on her, so she then cast them out. So is that Mother Darkness? And she is now got her grips on Tok and is going to keep loving him until he turns sour and then she no longer wants him. I presume at some point Lady Envy or Tool or someone is going to rescue Tok. Someone's going to rescue him, but yeah, I'm a little bit lost at this at the moment. There's still things to fathom out and still, but that's part and parcel of the game, isn't it, with this book that has come in essence from a game. We are playing a game along with it and sussing out the little mysteries. So I have thoughts, like I've said, Mother Darkness, matriarch of our children. I don't think it's that. So those are a couple of potentials who that could be. But then, who is the Jag-Hurt? Is it Gelor? Because he got cast out from Hood and he's now joined with the crippled god. Is the seer and the Jag-Hurt essence that Tok is picking up on, is that Gelor? I guess we'll have to read on and see if we can find out. So I'm going to attempt chapter 13, see if I can get it all done. If not, it's coming up for 1:30 now. Coming up for sort of 2:30, 3 o'clock-ish is when I'll wrap this up because of the editing process and getting it out today. So we'll just see how far we get on from here. So we've managed to get chapter 13 finished. So that means now we're on to book 3. So let's go over chapter 13. Silver Fox, it seems, is now a woman, continuously draining her mum, Mabe. Mabe is plagued by these dreams, or what could be referred to more appropriately as nightmares, of her, what potentially could be her afterlife and the suffering and the pain that she's going to be in. So there's talk of this potential fallout between Mabe and Silver Fox, and I don't know if maybe it's a case of like Mabe resents Silver Fox and that's why they're not talking, and Silver Fox maybe feels guilty or feels like she doesn't know really why her mum is being that way. I don't really know what the fallout is between them, but it's pretty sad really when, you know, that's meant to be her mum and there's this fallout. So that's quite sad. Everything around Mabe at the moment is quite sad. She's really suffering. I'm kind of not enjoying her story at the minute as to how she's suffering, and I personally kind of want an end for her too. I want her to get some form of relief from all this suffering that she's going through. Then we've got Whiskey Jack, who is a great character. He's such a father figure. He seems to have an affection for all his soldiers, especially the oldest of the bridge burners, like Quickburn and Fiddler and Callum. He has and Dujek. He has quite a tie to those guys because they've been through so much together. And unfortunately, at the moment, he's not available to get information about where those guys are in regards to the bridge burners or in regards to Capisan. He's kind of struggling, and he's a kind of need-to-know guy because he's the leader and he likes to know. So at the moment, Whiskey Jack is suffering with not having information as well, and it's kind of wearing on him and bringing him down as a character. And you're getting that feel that he's feeling quite exhausted with it all. So we're in the caravan of going towards where the bridge burners are to meet them and to face this Panian war, and we're talking to Croupe, and he's reassuring us that the supplies will still get to us even though the Warrens are poisoned. He guarantees delivery, as Croupe does. And the next thing you know, we have this conversation with Carla about the fallings out between Mabe and Silver Fox. So Whiskey Jack says, "Where is Silver Fox?" And she's at the back, and he panics because of Calor. So he gets to the back, but there's actually two Malazan warriors there with her anyway, and they've opted to do that because they can see the Tattersail in her, and they have a great admiration for Tattersail, so they volunteered to stay at the back with her and protect her. And as he reaches them, a portal opens and this burning wagon comes through, and there's a few more after that, which I think is the supplies that they're waiting for. But it's all burning, and it's all there's sort of this fluid coming out as well, this red fluid, which Silver Fox tells Whiskey Jack is the blood. It's the blood of an elder god, and he's suffering and he's in pain and he needs help, and she seems quite upset by this. So Whiskey Jack approaches the people who are on these wagons and says, you know, what's happened, and they try and sort of explain that they were in the warren and there was other people in the warren and it was all just chaos and everybody was trying to get out and things were just going wrong, and sorcery has led to the wagons being on fire. So they're going to try and salvage what they can, and you know, that's where that kind of stamp is. But everybody's panicking about these warrens, rightly so really, because you know, they're extremely important in this story. The warrens are the form of travel, they're the form of the sorcery for some mages. They kind of hold a huge massive part within this story. So the warrens being damaged, poisoned, etc. is a huge deal. So that's what's happening with Whiskey Jack, and I'm not sure if the elder god that Silver Fox is talking about is potentially let me get my teeth in, potentially Carol. We know he's come back and he's in his warren, so are we talking about Carol? Is that whose blood is being spilled, or is it, as it was mentioned before, potentially Lady Envy's because of all this fighting that she's doing? I don't know yet. So those are potentially my thoughts on that. And as Calor, we go through sort of an inner monologue with Calor, talking about the 8 8 mages who asked for the god, the crippled god, and then the 3 elder gods that showed up to get rid of Calor, and all the proceedings that went on there. And Calor's doing this as an inner monologue, going through it all again, remembering. And he makes this statement as towards Krull's sister. Now, does he mean Nightchill? Because as far as I'm aware, with the tie of the names, Sister of Cold Night makes sense to me to be Nightchill. So she's an elder god that's now within Tattersail. She's now with Tattersail, sharing Silver Fox's body along with Belurden. But is Nightchill Sister of the Cold Night? And if she is, then she's an elder god. But is she directly Krull's sister, or does he? I don't know who he means. I'm a little bit confused as to who Krull means. That's who I thought was Krull's sister, but maybe he actually has a direct sister. But he's laughing in his inner monologue that he's got revenge somehow also on Krull's sister. So if that's Nightchill, are we to expect something more from Calor as to what he's got planned for Silver Fox? Following on from that, as he's doing this inner monologue, a portal opens in his tent, and out comes Gellar. And Gellar, as we know now, is, if you've read Memories of Ice, this is a reflection more so for people who've read it. I can't really do this without spoilers, because then I can't get my thoughts across properly. I mean, you can watch it by all means. I'm not spoiling everything. There's an awful lot that I miss out. I just mention the things that I think about and that cause me, that give me pause for thought. So I don't really think it's a spoiler for Malazan at all. If anything, it may help you work through it, because they can be quite, I wouldn't say hard, I would say challenging, because of all the information and because of all the mystery and the little hidden gems that Stephen Erickson puts in there. They are a fun read because they are this epic fantasy kind of mystery, and that's what's fun about them, is as you go along it, you're kind of working things out. Stephen Erickson does give you the answers eventually, but you are kind of working out as you go. So yeah, this portal shows up in Calor's tent, and it's Gellar. And as we know, Gellar has now gone to the crippled god and become his herald. But they're still looking for a king to take the throne of the House of Chains. So basically Gellar has shown up to offer Calor the position of the throne. And what Calor in return has said is that if he can be given a window of access towards Silver Fox, it's seeming like he may consider it. So Silver Fox still isn't in the clear. She's still under threat from Calor. Calor seriously has a vengeance towards Silver Fox, and he's not going to let it drop. So that's the situation there. So it's looking like, because of the revenge and the hatred, etc., in Calor's heart, and this is what the crippled god is feeding off from people, he's enticing Calor in to get his revenge. So that may well happen. And as I said, Whiskey Jack, we go back to Whiskey Jack again. It's just basically these two sort of storylines that we're bouncing off in chapter 13. We go back to Whiskey Jack, and he is just this worrying leader who has a pure sort of protection for his soldiers, and wants to be sure that they're always okay and they're always safe, and there's nothing that he needs to kind of be worried about, because if he wanted, he'd absolutely step in and try and fix the problem. So we've got Corlat, and we've kind of known for a bit of a while now that there's something from Corlat towards Whiskey Jack. She did speak to Maeve about it and how she finds him quite attractive. The hooking up. Whiskey Jack and Corlat are now hooking up. How cute is that? So now he's getting a connection of a different kind, is what I've wrote. And I said he's getting it on with Corlat, by the way, but he's getting a connection of a different kind. He's getting some self-love from somebody, which is so cute. So cute. And then we go back to, it's kind of Mabe, Whiskey Jack, Mabe, Whiskey. So we go back to Mabe again. And she's such a tortured soul at the moment. She's going through it. She really is. She, again, her dreams. So she goes into this another dream state. And she's on the edge of the abyss. She's basically saying to Whiskey Jack that there is nothing after death. It's just an abyss, and it's pain, and it's suffering. And Whiskey Jack is trying to tell her that, no, there's more than that, mate. There's more than that. And she's like, no, there's not. That's all there is. It's going to be pain and suffering. And she's dreaming of this abyss, and she's on the edge, and she falls. So she's falling. And then a dragon swoops in and picks her up and takes her to this particular area and puts her down. And sadly, again, she's tortured again by her old self there. The you know, what was her, the perfect skin, and you know, her 20-year-old self, not what she's like now, all withered and all aged, even though she's probably, what, a year older than, if that. And she's being made to look at herself again. And then these voices come through, and they're talking to her about them being sort of spirits, and how, I think they're talking about Krupe, because Krupe, as my good friend Otto reminded me, from Gardens of the Moon, and I must say, Otto, I'm very much aware Krupe speaks in third person. That's one of my favourite things about him. I will never forget that. But I forgot who he was, what he could do, and he can walk in dreams. And there's these footsteps, that footprints that Mabe keeps seeing in her dreams. So presumably, because the spirits turn around and say, there is a small round man hides obsidian edges beneath his surfeit of flesh. So obsidian, is that moonspawn? I'm sure that's the stuff that moonspawn's made from. So why has Krupe got that? Is that what's giving him the powers to do all what he's doing? Is having this obsidian? And why is he in Mabe's dreams? Why is he? It seems like he wants to help her, quite honestly, because he gave her the talks and from the box with the caverns under Darujistan, where they found the spirits of Rahivi, talks, etc. He's given them to her to kind of help her with her pain, etc. So it doesn't seem like he's got anything bad or any bad intentions towards Mabe. So why is he in her dreams? And my other concern about Mabe is Mabe just going to die? Is Mabe going to be entered into Silver Fox as another one of her beings that's in there? Or is Mabe, with the way she feels at the moment and how torturous her dreams are and how she's feeling very helpless, like there's nothing and there's no point and she just wants an end to it all, is the crippled god going to get his hands on Mabe and convince her to come with him too? I think that's the question that needs to be asked, because it's seeming like, as I said, the crippled god has got every intention of playing on the emotions of people who are, I won't say down on the luck, but you know, vengeful or hateful or full of anger. And at the moment, Maeve is angry. She's angry at Silver Fox because she's taken her youth from her. But it's how prolonged it is. It's how much she's being made to sit it out and suffer it that's making her angry. Why can't it just be done with? You know, I think she feels like Silver Fox is okay. She's at that age now. Why does she need to still suffer? But I think the purpose of that is that Silver Fox sees her as a mum. And this whole book is about motherhood and mums and the ties, the ties that bind between a child and a mother. And why would Silver Fox want to let her mum go? You know, she's not, she doesn't really fully understand, or maybe she does now, what she's doing to her mum. But why would she still then want her gone? As much as she's the reason why her mum's suffering, she's still not going to want her mum gone, is she? So I don't know if that's going to maybe get Maeve to the point where she's actually angry, and the cripple god is going to see this and then use that. That's a thought process I have, is that potentially Maeve is going to end up being another one that is taken under the wing of the crippled god and to that side of things. I don't know. But yeah, that's chapter 13. Not much in the way of kind of information. If there was, potentially I've missed it. The thing with Malazan is you can't get everything your first time. It is one of those series where you accept it and acknowledge it the more you read it. And I'm a first time reader, so I'm on my first time of this series, so I'm not going to catch everything. But I don't think I'm doing too bad in what I'm catching so far. But yeah, these few chapters that I've read today, especially chapter 11 and 12, been very good, very entertaining, and very still informative, still fun. So that's me for, what is it, day 5 vlogging? Yeah, day 5 I think it is. So day 5 vlog is done with. I hope if you watched to the end that you've really enjoyed it, and we'll continue tomorrow with book 3, moving on to chapter 14. So thank you all for your support as always. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like for me. If you know anybody who's into this kind of content, potentially share the video with them. If you're a new subscriber here and you haven't, if you're a new viewer here and you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you just press that button, and that helps my algorithms and it gets me shown further out there on the YouTubes, and more people get to see this content. And yeah, we'll look forward to tomorrow. The weather's quite nice in the UK. If anybody's watching from the UK, get yourselves out there for a bit and enjoy that sunshine. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.